Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Artistically Black, the continuing conversation on the expansiveness of the Black community, the love and labor of art, and the connection between the two. I am your host, Dannielle Hutchinson, and I am so delighted for you to join us here for this episode. We had such a good conversation last month for Women's History Month that we thought we'd do it twice. So I'm bringing my panel back with me this afternoon. Unfortunately, Felicia couldn't join us, but we're still going to have a good time. She's off getting ready to do a show in New York. We wish her the best. We wish her well. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to jump in. I'm going to invite Monique, Pauline, and Divinia to come back and join me today. Hello, friends. How are we today?
All right. Thanks for having us, Danny.
Oh, my goodness. Of course. I had such a good time last time. We had to do it again.
It was fun.
You know what? Sometimes you just got to sit down and have a good kiki and just have a good time with your friends. Mm-hmm. And that's what was had. And I thank you for coming back and spending some more time with me and our audience. It was well received. So, they like you and I love you. So, let's have at it. So I want to pick up kind of where we left off in the last conversation. So we were talking about hard decisions and the best advice that you could give or have ever gotten. And I just want to pick up and ask if in those hard decisions, and I know that you've all had to make some hard decisions in your career. What lessons have you learned from those hard decisions? What have you learned about yourself?
Who wants to start?
I would say being a people pleaser in this industry does not serve you. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to think about everyone else and you're going to prioritize the producers and the director of the projects over where your heart lies, what is most important to you, moving your career forward, where you feel seen and heard and respected. And so I think that you need to remember that you in this industry are usually self-employed and your own best advocate. So you have to make the decisions to say, this is a healthy place for me. This is not. This is a project that feeds me and I can grow from versus a project where I'm just going to make rent. And sometimes you're going to disappoint some people, but hopefully if they really do care about you as a person and an artist, they'll understand in the long run. Because usually it's feast or famine. Either you have 5 jobs or none.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when there's 5, you're like, oh, I don't want to disappoint anybody. And when there's none, you're like, it's my fault because I said no. But it's not. That means it's time for you to prepare.
Right. And just piggybacking off of what Monique said, and something that you also talked about a bit last time in our discussion was just sometimes that no is more beneficial than you would think. Even from that last discussion, I was like, okay, Pauline, start saying no more. Got it. Yes. But in addition to what you were saying, it's something that I've learned and something that I take with me as a choreographer, and I tell actors this all the time, is that you as an individual will always be more important than the show. This show will go on, the show will always happen. But you as a person, it's your mental health, your physical health, your emotional well-being, it's all more important. And so I know that we've all probably done something that took everything out of us. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we could have said no to in the past. So it's now that I have these experiences and now that it's happened to me. And now that I've tried saying no, I'm like, oh gosh, that's what it feels like. So yeah, I've learned that in talking to you all, picking yourself sometimes is just, sometimes it's going to be hard. Like Monique said, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be fun, but sometimes it's what needs to be done. And if that's what you're doing, you are always correct.
Yeah. It's still speaking from that place of no. Sometimes when you receive a no, it actually ends up being for your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
was applying for a position that I was excited for. And then I got through the interview process and it was not a good interview. And I also left it and I was like, this is not the job for me, because I wasn't ready for it. I was like, oh, this is not where I want to be at yet. And sometimes that happens and it was very humbling. And that's a hard, it's a hard thing to get humbled and be like, okay, I'm not there yet. But it was really important because I'm like, okay, what can I build where I am? And it really showed me what pockets I was still missing, because it's like, okay, that was a no. That was a hard stop no. But here's what will make it a yes in the future. Here's what I know I can still build on later on. And that honestly probably protected me from being in something that was going to get me way over my head, because I could feel it in that interview. I was just like, oh, I'm not here for this yet. This is not me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that being able to, and I 100% hear you on the not being able to, like, being a people pleaser and always wanting to be, because sometimes, it feels good to be of help to other people and to be the one that can solve the problems. Because I am at the root, I am a problem solver. That's what I do.
You are.
Oh yeah.
Even if I don't, and I like to tell people, if I don't have the answer, I will find it or I will make it up. So, I will get you what you need, but sometimes you just gotta, I found myself earlier this week even saying, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do that. Like I had to reconcile with the fact that there are all of these things on my plate. So no, I'm not going to be able to take that, as much as I want to be helpful. And it hurts to be able to say no to certain things. But you grow from that and you learn a lot about yourself. Have you ever had to, in an effort to save yourself, have you said no to roles? What did you learn from saying no to, like, roles that you were offered to you or you auditioned for? Is there anything different in that?
I'm going to let everyone else answer that question because I just learned to say no last discussion, so I don't think I've ever said no to a role yet. So I would like to know myself, like, what happens when you do that?
Well, I'm not a performer, so I've never had to, like, audition and turn down a role in that way. But in the work that I'm offered, there's been a lot of saying no, and I don't think I've ever regretted it at any point, because it's either, I try, and Monique hits a lot of things on the head, because there were a lot of jobs that were like, I'm just making rent here, especially in the midst of the pandemic, where everyone was like, we need new work, we need dramaturgs, we need this, we need that. And I was just like, great, I'm broke, so give me what you need. And then finding enough security to say, okay, I don't like working with these people, or you don't pay enough, or you have really ridiculous expectations. And I think the more you say no, or at least the more I say no, the more I learn what I'm saying no to. Because it always started to feel like I'm just rejecting a job. And that feels guilty, whether, like, no matter how much financial security I receive, it seems like I always feel a place of guilt. Like, I have turned down money. What am I going to do?
Absolutely.
And I started to realize what I was saying no to. Like, I'm either saying no to, like, the time commitment because it's not something I have. And there's a little bit of, like, protection in my nose of, like, this just isn't the right fit. Or sometimes I'm just not the person for the job. Like, there are people who are looking for very specific perspectives, and I have a lot to offer from my place in the world, but sometimes it's not the right place, quote unquote, or it's not what that person or project needs. And I can point that out. And I'm like, I think what you're actually looking for is this. And I am not this. So you should go find this, and good luck. And that's a really nice thing to be able to do. And I think it leads to a better project. Because if I'm just going to come on and join you and not really be involved, you probably should go find someone who wants to be there. You'll get better work that way. And that's good for both of us.
Absolutely. I think that, being able to say no is a wonderful thing, and, turning down roles. I've not had the luxury to turn down a lot. Sometimes you just gotta work.
Grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you for having me. Okay, so that brings up something to me, because I feel like, and I don't think that we talk about this enough, is imposter syndrome. And sometimes I will get cast in a show and I'll be like, oh God, they want me? Can I do this? Are you sure that you want me? I think I can do this. Have you ever had that experience that where you second guess? Because I always think, oh well, they picked me and they cast me, but it's only because this person had a conflict and they couldn't do the show. So obviously that's why. That's why. Have you ever had that experience? You know, we're all wonderfully talented individuals, and I think there's a certain level of confidence and arrogance that goes, and not arrogance in a bad way, because I think that arrogance sometimes gets labeled as always being a negative thing. Sometimes you have to be arrogant about, you know, what you do. But have you ever had that that fleeting moment of imposter syndrome? Ever?
For 35 years, I've had imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't ever end.
Yeah.
I can't have time where you're like, oh, I can do this thing. But when you feel like you can do it, that means you probably need to reach for something else. And I know that it's called lots of different things, imposter syndrome. But you know, we're our own worst critics of everything, like you said. I think there's always going to be a moment of what you should be doing should challenge you and scare you a little bit, but you have to know that you could push through that. I remember when I first started in this career, I kept waiting for someone to say, you're supposed to be here. I was like, okay, I went to this audition and I sang and I got this show. They're going to realize I'm not supposed to be here. But maybe someone will see me, validate me, and say I am supposed to be here. I've been waiting for that for 35 years. It doesn't come because everybody is working on their own stuff and everybody else has their own version of imposter syndrome. So, you know, my Virgo brain is like, well, they hired me for this job and this job and this job. It means I have to be this much talented, but I need to keep working. You know, there's always something. But I think, I mean, for me, that's when spirituality helps, because there is a reason why you are anywhere in any situation, whether it's to, like Divinia was saying, realize that might not be the right opportunity for you. You might be there to learn from someone else. You might be there to grow into the next phase of your life, whatever that is. Every situation that you're in, you're supposed to be in, and you need to learn it. Like I did one show. I took this acting class where we did these visualization exercises, and part of the visualization exercise, you put yourself in the spaces that you wish to be in your mind. And it's a constant thing. And there was a job that I said, ooh, it would be great to have this job. So I would, like, in my mind, get on the train and then get to the audition and see the team be happy and clap and yay and all of that. And I actually ended up getting the job. It was the worst experience I've had in my professional life. Job. But it taught me so many things about the power of the mind, the power of positive thinking, and you got to be really careful about where you are. And I mean, I learned a lot. Ooh, that's the story. Ooh.
Okay, we're gonna have to have that story.
Oh yeah.
I'm interested. Oh
yeah. I think just like even hearing Monique say, like, yes, I still experience imposter syndrome to this day. It's like before this, even when you asked the question, I was like, I bet Monique has it. Cause like I'm like over here and I look at Monique as somebody who, like, I'm like, she's like this goddess who's done so many things. And I'm like, and then like you've got people who like I think it was even Andrew Garfield was just nominated for an Oscar and did an interview about how he still feels imposter syndrome. So it's just like, it's you feel it in any industry that you're in. Like you're probably like, I'm sure that like medical professionals, coders, everybody, lawyers, they'll feel some sense of imposter syndrome. But because we're performing artists and we're in the arts, and so much of what we do is based off of feedback. It's like Monique is like, and she said like I've been waiting for someone to tell me like I'm good. Like, I need to hear this. I need this external validation. And if I'm not getting it, then that means I'm bad. Right. And then, but it's like, you're surrounded by so many people who have imposter syndrome. And now that we're talking about it more, suddenly I feel more calm. It's like, Pauline, no, you're not wrong. You're still learning. You're still taking steps. You're allowed to be in these spaces. You're allowed to grow in these spaces. And you're allowed to give yourself space to do that, because that's why the people invited you in. They're like, we trust you, and we're going to give you that space to do that exact thing. So, like, yeah, I'm going to feel it regardless, even knowing that. Like, I'm able to say that now. Next time I go on a stage, I'm going to still feel it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's like, I'm imposter syndrome. It's a thing. I'm just happy we're discussing it, because like that discussion makes me feel so much better in my soul, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, Dannielle's actually heard me talk about this specifically before. And Pauline, what you said, I think, is what encourages me through this, but it's also the main source of like my imposter syndrome issues, is that like it's not, my sister talks about it with me all the time. I'm not necessarily a words of affirmation person. Like I don't necessarily need someone externally to tell me that I'm doing well, but there's this sense of pressure that I think is built into most jobs, almost every job, where if you give me something and I have this job, it means I'm supposed to know it. And to me, like in my head, that's what it means. It's like, it means I'm supposed to know this job. It means I'm supposed to be able to do all of the things that this job it says I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to have the answers for all of these positions and all of these things. And so I get there and, naturally don't have all the answers. I'm new to the position. I probably haven't held it before. And so I'm like, oh, should I really even have this job? Do I know enough to be in this job? But what you said, Pauline, of like, I'm here to grow, and I probably, hopefully, was brought on with the expectation that I'm going to grow into it. I'm not here to, it speaks back to what Monique said. If I have all of the things that I'm supposed to have to do this job, if I know everything I'm supposed to know to do it, I probably actually don't need to be in this job. I need to be somewhere higher.
Yeah.
And need to let someone else who doesn't know this yet have this place. So I'm going to hold on to that because that's helpful for me.
That is excellent. Yeah, Monique, that is excellent advice to take. Sometimes you just like, and you know that inside, that, okay, I've done what I can do. I've reached a certain point, but there's scary things on the other side because I don't know any of those things. And that's where you should be, learning and growing. So like everything that everyone has said is very helpful. Thank you. So on that topic a little bit, on the other side of that, and I promise audience will get to something more positive, but I got to ask this last question. On the side, on that side of imposter syndrome, moving into, have you ever had an experience or an instance of professional jealousy where, there was a role that you didn't get that somebody else got, and you're like, well, man, I should have gotten that role. And how do you combat that? Like, what do you do?
I think those are two opposite sides of the coin, because if you don't feel like you deserve anything, then how can you then feel like someone has something that you're supposed to have? So I think I err on the, I don't feel like being a Black female singer in this industry is hard. Singer, actor, mover, anything, because there's always going to be somebody who sounds better than you, or in your mind, there's always someone better than you. So if you take away parts of that, what am I saying? The short answer is no. I don't think there's ever jealousy for me, because I can always understand why I feel like someone else got something. There might be a little bit of, I don't even know. Me. But then I would have gotten a little bit scared, like, oh God. I don't know. Then the imposter syndrome struck. So not really. I think that's a beautiful part for me as being a Black woman in this industry, is because other people sometimes try to pit us against each other. I've never been in a more welcoming and warm space than with a whole bunch of Black women. We're always like, your hair, girl, you need some lip gloss. Is everything okay? Let me fix this for you. Let me fix your hair. Are you good? I always leave those rooms when there's like 10 of us that are kind of the same. Like, I just made some new friends. This is awesome.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because we're all in our own place in the journey anyway.
Yeah. Yes. And honestly, like, something that a Facebook status that I saw from a Black actress in the community recently. She posted something about how she was like very happy for a friend, but she was like, I feel a little bit sad that I missed this opportunity myself. But like the person who posted it, I'm like, you're somebody who I am in awe of, and you don't know this. And I'm like, what? So like we walk through this some of us walk through this industry. Sometimes we're like, yeah, I might be a little bit jealous of this person, but I guarantee you, Black women especially, there is someone who feels the exact same way about you. Somebody is out here who is like, gosh, you are amazing. You are a star. I wish I could be in your shoes. And it's like, but like we will still compare ourselves. Like Monique even said it. It's like when you're in a room full of Black women, when they're all like you, it's like that is a thing. But like I just auditioned for a show where it's a show for 3 Black women. I got in it, so that's something I'm going to invite you all to.
Yay!
But, so it's an all Black production staff, and all Black women were called back. And like Monique said, it was like in the callback, I wasn't like, oh gosh, this is my competition. It was just like, girl, what's your phone number? You leave me hang out after this. Where are you going? You're a dancer too? What is this? Oh girl, I love your hair. It was like the warmest callback I've ever been to. So it's like, I think I combat jealousy with like instead of being jealous, just know that you're allowed to exist in the same space and be amazing too. Like, what is it? Like, we were pitted against each other, but it's what's the saying? The existence of someone else's beauty and talent and all these other things does not discredit your own.
Yes.
So we can jealousy is a natural thing, but just know someone feels it about you too. I felt it about Monique myself. I'm like, God, this girl's done so much with her life. And it's like, Pauline, take a step back. She has had a whole career. She has hustled and worked. Like it takes work, it takes energy. And there's like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we don't see with that stuff. So like, yeah, jealousy, it exists, but I get it sometimes. I will say that, but it's like this thing I said. Yeah, that's about it.
No, I think combating jealousy with like an abundance mindset is so powerful, right? Because it really does change your perspective. And it's just like, there's more than just this one moment, this one thing. But it is really natural to feel jealousy. I feel like I lean a little bit closer to where Monique is, where it's like, it's not something I experience very often. I can't really pinpoint a moment where I looked at something and I was like, oh, I wanted that. And felt some type of way about it. Because I think my focus is so within me and within like what I'm doing or what I'm looking at that I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the place that I needed to be, or that wasn't where I was headed. And there's a lot of spirituality where I'm just like, oh, this thing did not work out specifically because like that's just not where I'm supposed to be headed, or that's not where my focus is meant to be. So I tend to take it from that perspective. But I do understand, and I think I'm losing my thought, but it's not really jealousy sometimes that comes up, but just like when, and this might not be so great, but sometimes I see someone who's gotten a role and I'm not sure how I feel about that person in that role. That is something I experience a lot of like misunderstanding, we'll call it, where I'm just like, I don't know if that's a fit, but that is a choice that people have made. And now we have to live with that choice. Yeah. It's that feeling.
Yeah. Choices.
Yes. I always have an opinion, but I always learn from things too. Like if there'll be a production that I was maybe up for, or even not, and I see it. I mean, that's fun to me though. Like, how can we make this better? What did the director not tell this person? What should they be wearing? What should the lights be doing right now? Like, I love saying, how can we make anything better? And sometimes it's casting. Sometimes you're like, should have given it to me. Most times it's like, I'm glad I wasn't a part of that production because that wasn't my opportunity. And like you're saying, Divinia, like there's limitless opportunities. And if you're not there, it wasn't yours because there's something better. And it's worked, for me, it's worked both ways. There's jobs I felt like I should not have gotten. And I was like, okay. And then there's jobs where I was like, this is mine. And I did not. They did not ring my phone. So
what, just to pivot a little bit, what is your most favorite role or project that you've worked on, in your case, Divinia, like what your favorite piece that you've written, the one that was the most impactful or surprised you?
Divinia, you go first. She's grinning.
Okay. Yeah, that's such a fun question because none of the projects that I work on, I mean, I write, but I haven't written a play in a long time. And the project, like the things that I'm writing are like novels and stuff. But in terms of like projects that I've dramaturged that are my favorite, that's such a fun question. I've had the real joy of loving a lot of the things that I've worked on. And I don't know if it's like a self-feeding sort of system where I love the work that I do and then I find things to love. Like I do all of my work based off of Jacqueline Backus, who's a playwright, wrote something in a Playwrights Horizons program about how she approaches the work that she reads. And one of the things that she asks when she goes into a new play is what delighted her. And I work from that perspective a lot, you know, especially when I find myself getting really like ground down in the work of like, I go into it and I'm like, what delighted me about this? And I think Miyoko Conley wrote a play called Human Museum that I worked on for the Bay Area Playwrights Festival. And it's a really like, wacky might not be the best word, but that's the word I have right now, where all of humanity has gone extinct and we're with robots who are on Earth who have built a human museum about our experiences, our lives, and have just built a new exhibit about how the world ended, about how people went extinct. And the robot who's like the curator of the museum is the person who was with the last human on Earth who was trying to save us. And it's just this very emotional, gracious piece that looks at what people usually do in a very dark, sometimes cynical way about like the end of humanity. And it's not really trying to be super positive. Like Miyoko and I talked about it. She's like, yeah, I'm not really like, wasn't trying to be like super uplifting, but it's very funny. And it is very like open to the idea that humanity tries and like there are things that we get wrong and there are things that we get right. And what is the legacy that people leave behind? And that piece still, that's one of the two pieces that still sticks with me. The other is Sacral Hours by Libby Carr. And that was my first piece that I really felt I like dug into in a way. And it's also the first piece I got to work on where I was like a queer person in the room. I just kind of come out to myself not that long ago. And it's a super queer play. There's like non-binary people, there's like queer girls, and it's just a bunch of high school girls trying to figure out their life transition as they all get ready to go to college. And high school girls and people, because there's non-binary characters. And it's really experimental. There's like tarot themes. There's like a scene where a room floods with water, and it's just really beautiful. It's expansive, and Libby really experimented with that piece. And we were in a very experimental room that was gracious to just go along with it and just imagine. And so I had a lot of fun on those two projects. I don't know if that even, did I answer your question?
Yes, that answered. I want to read both of those.
Usually, I think they're on new play.
Are they? Okay, great.
I think
excellent. So. Yeah, listening to you talk about them makes me feel like, that's something I really want to read. I want to dig into. I want to
they were
have
very
that
good
kind of
reads.
experience.
Yeah.
Pauline?
So mine isn't, I guess mine isn't, I don't know.
Well, you wear many hats, so it could be a show that you choreographed or did props for. Just by the way, anyone looking for a props master, just Pauline is amazing.
Please call me, because last night I was like, I miss doing this. So I want to craft something. Give me some craft. But I think honestly, like weirdly, like I'm just gonna give a props one, because like the acting ones and the choreo ones, it's like there's too many to pick from, because I'm like, part of it is like you fall in love with people and you're like, oh gosh, I love these people from this group, but I also love these people from this group, so it's hard to pick that one. But like, just one thing for me, designing props for children's theater, because has been just like one of the funnest things in the world. The first show that second show I ever propped was Avenue Q. And so it's not children's theater, but it's in a similar vein. It's supposed to, it's like it wants to be. And it was like, that was a show where I just got to like play with like making props that all look like Sesame Street. It's like, yes, we need this realistic prop, but make it Sesame Street. this prop, but make it Sesame Street. And then I've also done like an Alice in Wonderland where it's like, we need cups, things like this, this, and this, but nothing can be real. It has to be made out of things that you would find in a forest. And every time I go into productions like this, like at Alice in Wonderland or like the adventure shows, it's like, it's always something like this piece of this real thing needs to magically turn into this. And it's like that, those have been the things that have challenged me the most as an artist, because it's like, okay, cool. How do we make that happen? And then you go home and you're like, okay, now we got to make some magic happen. And then when you finally get it to happen, it's like, oh God, that's a different feeling. That's a very different feeling when you're like, it's like that, you get like a little bit of imposter syndrome the second you hear about it. Then you go home and you figure it out. And then when it's done and you present it to the people and they're like, oh, this is so exciting. They're like, yeah. So I will say it's like just designing props for like in children's theater and like anything that is like just colorful or anything silly. Those are always my favorite prop ones. Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome. Monique. It could be a show that you directed.
After 50 shows.
You know what? I think as an artist, as that being your profession, it's always easy to be critical of the work that you do, either on stage and sometimes as a director. So I always have more joy in things where I'm helping other people do things. Like I love like mentoring. I love like just with some young people, coaching, acting, things like that, like seeing when they get it. So nothing specific. And I also like doing things that I'm not good at all, like painting. Like if I have like a wall in my house where I want to like, okay, I had a wall when I was living in New York and I just went to Home Depot like every day and read those books about how to like make it one color, like sponge it something else. Because so much of what I do feels like it could be better. It goes back to my Virgo and you know, being critical of all of that. But anything where you're like, I am not expected to be excellent at this, that is fun. I can be bad and mess it up, and it's great. So that's the kind of stuff I like to do.
Monique, that speaks so well to why I like dramaturgy, because it's not a project where I feel like I have to take a lot of ownership. Like I have a lot of ownership in the work that I do and the guidance that I provide, but it's not my project. And that level of separation is so helpful because it's like, I'm just here to help you. And one of the best pieces of advice that I got when I got my first freelance job and I was freaking out, so I called one of my old mentors from New York, Lizzie Stern, and I was just like, what do I do? What do I need? She's like, you don't need to know anything about anything to do this job. She's like, actually, you don't need to. She's like, your job is to be a guide, to assist, and that's sort of the like dramaturgical like school of study that she comes from, is to just, I have it like written on my wall. There's a sticky note on my wall with these words. And we like her school of study and my school of study is to let the playwright lead me. So I don't actually feel like I need to be an expert. Like I'm not there to be the expert. I'm there to help you be the expert on your play. So that's my preachy about dramaturgy. That's why I like it so much.
I like that. I like that. That's a good. Can I apply that to other areas of my
Probably.
life? Right? You don't really need to know. Just let it happen. Sometimes I feel like that's what I do anyway. So
yeah.
Is there a role that's still on your wish list? So like I have a wish list of roles that I still want to play, you know? I still would like to be Rose in Fences. It would be nice. I can do it. I can do it. Just if anyone is out there, I can do it. Is there a role is there a wish list? Do you have a wish list role or a project that you want to dramaturge or playwrights you want to work with?
I'll keep going. And I actually do directing. I started in theater as a director and I've kind of dropped off. And there are definitely plays that I want to direct. But not mostly. I got away from like, I used to be like, I want to do Shakespeare. And like, I kind of still would like to, but also it's a lot. I don't think I want to anymore. But there's a new play that is like not out in the world, but Adventure did a digital reading of it called The Heartcracker Ballet by Margaret Gorman.
Yes.
It is lovely and I would love to direct it. wonderful blend of like ballet and queer exploratory stories for very young students that I think lives very vividly in my mind in a way that a lot of things don't. And I would love to be able to like put the pieces of that on stage. Like if I had picked a choreographer and I'm just like, I could really see this come to life in a way that makes me really excited. In terms of like playwrights, there are definitely people that I want to revisit. I would be remiss to not mention Jordan Ramirez Puckett, who is a playwright that I adore and would love to keep working with. We haven't had like too many opportunities since our first time, but I love Jordan. She's amazing. And I don't know, I'm open to the world on who I want to work with, but the Heartcracker Ballet is definitely like the project on my wish list. That's a big one for me. I'd love to do that one day.
Excellent.
Yeah. You go.
I glanced at the question. So I want to play The Witch in Into the Woods.
Yes.
I heard they're working on it. I want to be Miranda Priestley in Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to be Ursula in Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to be Miss Hannigan in Annie.
Oh.
Yeah, all those things. I want to be in a Marvel writing room on a new project with a huge budget. And then projects, I want to collaborate with the most creative and awesome people in a really warm, inventive room where there's no no's. Just how do we do that? That's what, because when I wrote, because I'm looking at my vision board right here, right behind me. And so when I wrote Marvel Writing Room, I go to my journal. I'm like, what does that mean to me? And that means in a space that feels like you have really rich source material, but you also have the ability to transform it in a new contemporary way. And there's no budget. There's no no's. You can do anything. I love the idea of just, you know what? You come up to something that feels like a limit. You throw it away and you're like, no, bigger, no, more. What else can you do? Yeah. And I'm really excited about the people of color that they have in Marvel writing rooms lately. So that's something that is. Yeah. Remind me after everybody else answers this question, I have something I have to add.
Okay.
I think mine are all. Oh gosh, I think mine are all dudes. I always want to play a guy on stage. Like I want to play Alexander Hamilton one day, but like a really weird one, like oddly specific. I want to play Willy Wonka one day. I want to be Willy Wonka, but with actual kids. I want to be a black candy lady, Willy Wonka, and I want to have that because I love kids. I teach kids, and I love working with them. And I want to actually be on a stage with my students. It's like it's that easy. I think I like have dream shows to choreograph too. It's like Newsies, because like all the big dance ones. I just want to dance away at all of the biggest dance musicals there are. I've done some, like I've choreographed some of mine. Like I've choreographed The Producers before, but like now it's a dream to do it again. Like all of the shows that I've choreographed once, I have a dream of at least doing it one more time so that I can be like, okay, now that I've seen it on a stage, let me change this, and do it again this way. And this is what I like now. So that's me. It's like, my dream shows to choreograph are all the ones I've done before. One more time. Newsies and Willy Wonka and Hamilton.
I like that. I will piggyback off of that. What is on my dream list is Mark Antony. Because I used to teach high schoe English, and we read it, and I was like, I can do this.
Yes.
I can do this.
You have such good English teacher vibes, Dannielle. This makes sense now.
And
you do.
Thank you. It was an interesting experience because blending the English and the theater background was a good experience. You know what I really want to do? I want to direct more, and I want to do more writing. Those are two parts of my experience that I really love being in the presence of artists. I love seeing how they interpret things in a different way than I do. I love seeing words come into action, and so especially with young artists, because we work at a children's theater, and with children they have no limits, they have no boundaries. They are very much about well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to do this and we'll figure it out later. And I love that. I love that how they interpret a piece of art. So that's on my list. Monique, you wanted to add something to this?
Did I talk about my magical phone call? I don't remember if I said that last time.
No, go on.
This is the guiding principle for my life. You need to, I would say every 3 months, sit with yourself and say, if the phone rang and it was who I wanted, dreamed it to be, and they said this thing that would change my life and light me up like nothing else, who would it be and what would they say? Like for me, like if Kevin Feige called and said, we'd love to invite you to the Marvel writing room, we're sending a car. Will be a part of a new developmental project and all expenses paid, plus you're making like $1 million a year, whatever that is. And it doesn't even have to be something like that, but something to give you a guiding star to put all of the decisions that you're making in line. So either I'm doing something that's getting me closer to what that phone call is or away from that. And so in all of my yeses and nos, going back to what we said before, that's what I use for what lights me up. And sometimes when you can sit with yourself and say, okay, this is this opportunity, working with these people, doing this thing. If they called, would I be as excited as I think I should be for that? Because if not, then that's not what you're supposed to do. But also, if you're like, oh my gosh, if this opportunity happened, it would scare me, it would excite me, it would challenge me, it would give me the space to be as creative and artistic as I want to be. What would that be? And if you know what that is, it kind of helps your life get in line instead of taking jobs. Because I know for a lot of my career, you just take jobs. You audition for something, you get it, you do it. And then you look up and you've been doing it for 20 years. But if I can lead my career by saying, this is what I want, then you see it. Like it becomes, okay, there's 10 jobs, but this is the one that's exciting to me. So that's the one I'm going to work extra hard and put in time and energy to be prepared for, to get that thing. And it's just helped me be able, and because I'm in this strange, not really performing anymore, but I'm directing, but I want to write. And I'm an associate artistic director, but there's other directing. There's like a whole bunch of stuff. I could get really overwhelmed by the opportunities and the possibilities. But if I just said, but if Marvel called, I'd drop everything. Then I know what's supposed to lead me. So do that.
Yes.
That was a word. That was a word.
Like that was indeed. I'm taking that everywhere.
Wow, that is a
good change, and you have to allow yourself to change what that is. Either when you move through a different place of your life, when you achieve that thing, when whatever it is happens, you have to keep checking in with yourself to make sure that thing still is the thing that would excite you. But it's fun. Because then it gives excitement to your life. Like, ooh, if they called, I would be packed. I would take this computer in my backpack, and that's all I need.
You got your go bag ready already.
No 2 weeks notice, no nothing, just out.
Me and my bag are leaving. Friends, this was amazing. I'm so filled with joy, and like we said at the last one, this is just like a warm hug. It's just cool to be in this space with you all and to have these conversations. We must do it again. I hope that you don't get sick of me, because I definitely don't get sick of having conversations with you all. You are amazing. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Felicia, we missed you today.
Yes.
break legs, Felicia.
This was amazing. This was I'm gonna keep it together because there are other people watching, but I'm so like I feel so loved and it's great. So I will not hold us any longer, but thank you so much for giving of your time this afternoon. Thank you all for watching. This was a great show. There are wonderful things happening at Adventure. We've got summer camp registration is open now. We are somewhere in our March Madness bracket, so please make sure that you are voting. Please vote and help us decide which show we will produce this summer. If you find it in your heart to make a donation, no donation is too small. You can visit us and make your donation gift at atmtc.org. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for joining me again. All right, good afternoon, everyone. See you later.